Save 15% off your order through Safari site using my exclusive coupon code DINOSCREAM. Link is in the description of this video. First, I wanted to just give a big thank you to Safari for sending this figure out for this review. I'm a huge fan of Sauropod figures. Now, this figure was announced by Safari months ago and is the first out of the 4 Dinosaur figures that they revealed this year that is actually in stock. That's right, you can pick this up on their website right now, so scratch that Dinosaur Rich until the other 3 figures are in stock. Now, this figure retails for $29.99. If you want to save a few bucks, don't forget to use my exclusive coupon code DINOSCREAM to save 15%. So yeah, it's been a while since Safari has done a Sauropod figure. I think the last one they did was their 2019 Camarasaurus. So it's been a few years, and this Patagotitan is a welcome addition. Now, it's not as big as some people would like, but you know, we live in a time of extreme inflation right now, and I think a larger figure would have been really out of the price range for what Safari does. So I am happy with it. It's a sizable figure for $30. But anyways, let's just throw this thing up on the turntable and jump into this review. And let's start with this 360-degree view of the Patagotitan. I believe this is the first figure of the species on the market, so it's always nice to add a new dinosaur species to the collection. Now, Patagotitan is a type of titanosaur. They are a group of sauropods that include the largest land animals ever to walk the earth. And I have to say, this figure gives off like a retro vibe. It feels like this figure was made 10 years ago, not in 2022. You know, most modern reconstructions of titanosaurs has the neck held up very high with the tail held out completely straight, so it does have this retro vibe to it. But another thing, the pose reminds me of the mount at the American Museum of Natural History. It's, you know, mounted in a very similar pose to this figure. I don't know if it was intentional on Safari's part to mimic that pose, but I think that's a neat little homage if it was intentional or not. And the color scheme, yeah, it's kind of bland. You know, it's more brown again. But, you know, Patagotitan was a very, very large animal, and most likely did not have a very vibrant color scheme. So I think the brown works nicely on this figure. And now for some measurements. If you measure this figure along the curve of the neck and curve of the tail, this figure is 18 inches long, or 45 3/4 centimeters, and just under 3 3/4 inches to the top of the head, or 9.5 centimeters. So Patagotitan in real life was 121 feet long, or 37 meters. So with those measurements, that puts this figure somewhere in the 180 scale range. So yeah, it's not going to scale with a lot of sauropod figures that we have in our collections. You know, I would love to see like a 140 or even a 135 scale of this figure, but that would be absolutely massive, and I think it would probably cost over $100. So I'm okay with it being this small. You know, like I said, sauropod figures the last few years have been kind of rare. Not a lot of companies are putting them out, and you know, like I said, cost of materials are going up, and you know, it's just really, really cost prohibitive to produce a very, very large dinosaur figure now. So I'm okay with the size. You know, like I said, it's the first Patagotitan figure out there, so I'll take it. And now let's zoom in and take a look at some finer details on this figure, starting with the head. You know, the known specimens of Patagotitan, the animal is incomplete, but we have enough material from other titanosaur species to reasonably reconstruct these animals, and I think they did a pretty good job on the head. You know, it's a typical, you know, head shape for a titanosaur, and viewing it from the front, they did have, you know, wider skulls, especially compared to the likes of like a Patasaurus and Diplodocus. Another thing they had were very large nostrils. You can see the nostrils are sculpted quite large on this figure. The eyes are painted a straight black color, very, you know, similar to something you would see on a collector figure, and I think it works nicely in this figure. It makes it look like a gentle giant. You can see the mouth is highlighted in black paint. And let's take a look at the top of the head. You do have some, you know, patches of very fine scale detail all over the body. You know, a lot of times when a company makes a sauropod figure, it's mostly folds and wrinkles, so it's nice to see, you know, some companies are giving them very, very fine scale detail. You can see it all the way down the neck, and there are a lot of folds and wrinkles mixed in there, but there is definitely a nice texturing going on with this figure. And looking at the underside of the neck, you can see it has some more nice folds and wrinkles that wash they gave over. It brings out all those nice details. Along the side, you have this nice brown striping going all the way down the neck. You can see all those little patches of scales popping up here and there. And then going down to the front limbs, you can see very heavy muscular limbs. You can actually see the shoulder blade just poking out just a little bit on here. And then going down to the feet, you'll notice there are no claws on the feet. That's because titanosaurs lost their phalanges. Those are the bones that make up your fingers, and this right here is mostly metatarsals. Those are the bones that make up the base of your hand, and that's why you don't see any toe claws on this figure. And then turn it over, you got the nice horseshoe shape, characteristic of most sauropod feet. On the underside, you got that nice cream coat with that wash, bringing out all those folds and wrinkles and patches of scales. Going down to the body, you get nice little dark spots right here, and you got, if you look really close, you can see more of that striping. So yeah, figure there's a lot of brown on here, but there's a lot of different shades, and if you really look up close, you can see some nice pattern on this figure. And look at it from the top, you got a nice wide gut, a lot of muscle detail over the hip region. You got some really nice scale detail all over the hips. And then going down to the hind feet, you can see those 4 toe claws are picked out in dark brown paint. Going to the tail, you have a nice thick tail base with more of that light brown striping. And when you get down to the end of the tail, it turns into a more complete banded pattern. And I do really like the pose with the head craned to the side. It makes the animal look very gentle, just lumbering along, looking for its next meal. This thing was huge. It really did not have any predators to worry about. When you get this big, there's really not much in the world that's going to concern you. And before I forget, we always have to do it. We have to check for our cloaca slit, and there it is right there, decked out in black paint. And since we got the figure turned over, you can just see some really nice scale detail on the bottom of the feet. So that will do it. We checked our dinosaur's bum, and let's move on to comparisons. Moving on with comparisons, let's first start off with Safari's last sauropod, their 2019 Camarasaurus. And next up is a relative of Patagotitan. Here it is with Safari's Malawisaurus. And let's just do a couple more Safari sauropods. Here it is with their Diplodocus, and always still a favorite of mine, their Apatosaurus. And let's do some sauropods from other companies. Here is Eofauna's massive Diplodocus. And if you're a big fan of Diplodocus, it seems like a few companies are planning more figures of the species. We got this Eofauna one right here. Rebar just announced they're doing one, and there's even a rumor that PNSO is doing a Diplodocus. And next up here is GR Toys Dicraeosaurus. And next up here is PNSO's Mementosaurus. The Patagotitan's $30, and the Mementosaurus is double that price, even though they're both the same size. And next up is Safari's new Albertosaurus. And we always got to do a T-Rex comparison when we compare any dinosaur figure. Here is Safari's Dana's Feather T-Rex. And lastly, here is Safari's Giganotosaurus. Now, the only predator that could possibly threaten a Patagotitan was Tyrannotitan, a very close relative of Giganotosaurus, and Mapusaurus. I don't think anyone has done a Tyrannotitan figure yet, so it'd be really cool in the near future if Safari released one to pair up with their Patagotitan. And let's just move this one off to the side. And here is Collecte's standard Mapusaurus, which makes a good stand-in for Tyrannotitan. So final thoughts on Safari's Patagotitan. I think they did a good job on it. It's always nice to get a new species that's never been made into figure form before and add it to our collections. Do I wish the figure was bigger? Yeah, I think a lot of people that collect sauropod figures wish, the sauropod figures were bigger to scale with the, rest of the figures in their collections. This just really showed like the immense size that these animals could reach, but it gets the job done. It's not over expensive. It's only $30. Has a nice natural paint scheme. I know some people get tired of like all the brown and stuff, but for an animal that gets this large, The dull color scheme definitely works for it. And I like the, you know, I don't know if it's intentional or not, the homage to the American Museum of Natural History mount of this species. I think that's a pretty neat touch. And yeah, just all around a good sauropod figure. I do like the slightly retro vibes it does give off. I know some people probably would prefer the neck to be, you know, held up higher and the tail a little bit straighter. But you know what? It looks different than most of what's out there, so that works for me. Now, like I said at the beginning of the review, this is the first figure of the four that Safari has announced this year that is actually in stock. The link to Safari's site is down below in the description. If you want to save a few bucks, don't forget about my exclusive coupon code DINOSCREAM to save 15% off your order. So that will do it for the review. I still got some more new stuff coming in. I got stuff coming in from Ancestors Model. P&S will just announce an Acrocanthosaurus figure, and I'm going crazy over that because a lot of people know that Acro is my favorite theropod dinosaur of all time. So really exciting stuff coming up on the channel, so stay tuned for all that. And as always, if you're enjoying the content, show your support by hitting that subscription button just below the video. Each subscription helps out the channel tremendously and it's greatly appreciated, and I'll see you guys for the next one.